All right, guys, let's talk about the upcoming fight in Lookism, which is Johan Seong versus Kit Tae Kim. Now, I feel like this is really going to emphasize and change the whole path versus pathless concept, and I'll explain why in a second. Okay, so as we know, Johan Seong has a path. All right, that's like one of the few characters in Lookism who absolutely is confirmed to have a path. Like Daniel Park, it's implied James Lee, but we're not really sure. Kit Tae Kim, on the other hand, it feels like he has an anti-path thing going on. And now hear me out, because you guys are like, that was never implied, that was never stated that he's an anti-path. But we're going to go through that right now. Now, first up, when Legends Blood is mentioned in Lookism, we see in the same chapter, in chapter 465, you look this yourself, I got this off a webtoon, but the first person that Gansop G mentions is Kit Tae Kim, and how he has Gaprion Kim's blood, and how people with Legends Blood will typically have a path of their own, or be just innately incredibly strong and have that kind of talent. And we know that Kit Tae Kim, he naturally has Gaprion Kim's strength. He is the dark side of Gaprion Kim. He has the talents where Jake does not, and Jake has the talents where he does not. And we see this parallel between them, where Kit Tae Kim inherited the strength that Jake needs to grow, and Kit Tae Kim lacks the conviction and the software that Jake has. And so between the brothers, Kit Tae Kim has all the hardware, and Jake has all the software. And this is where we go through this dynamic of Legends Blood and the potential that Legends Blood has, and how Kit Tae Kim's innate strength is because of his father in Legends Blood. But Johan Seong walks his own path. He is going to make his own legend. Now, to explain the whole anti-path concept, I believe this whole concept completely sprouts from his hatred for Gaprion Kim, his own father. And the reason why he killed him is because, as the dark side is Gaprion Kim and probably the rejected son, what he discovered is that, looking into his father's past, present, and future at the time, he believes the king of the underworld should have been more aggressive, and he probably took it more, and he shouldn't have been passive. He shouldn't have tried to be the king of light, as he stated himself. And so, as the rejected child, as that angry son that he has chosen to walk the opposite path of Gaprion Kim. He's trying to walk not just the opposite path of Gaprion Kim, but one without conviction. He is going to walk the dark side of Gaprion Kim, and that's where he uses his innate strength to have this anti-path of sorts. And instead of conviction overcoming those, maybe potentially a greater path or greater software, he uses his dark conviction. Now, as we can see in the Busan arc, Jin Rang, or Jin Lang, whatever you want to call him, had used conviction or the overcome ability during the Busan arc against Kit Tae Kim. But then we see Kit Tae Kim in response use something darker, something that a lot of people were calling like a strange mastery of sorts. But I think this is anti-conviction, and this is where my theory comes in. I think Kit Tae Kim's opposite path of his father, and because he has that innate strength in Legends Blood, is using this anti-conviction because he cannot pull the strength of conviction. I think his peak, his strongest ability is anti-conviction. I think this is Kit Tae Kim's strongest tool in his tool set, and I think he's going to use it against Johan Seong, and we are going to see Johan die. Now, towards the end of the Channeling arc, we notice that Kit Tae Kim, when he fights Ji Chae-kwok, he's kind of like an imitator of sorts. He kind of wants to emulate what other talented people have. He asks, how do you do it, after trying to copy a move, only to brutalize the technique, to kind of morph it, similar to how he morphed Gaprion Kim's fist, and how he morphed conviction. And I think that is his whole character concept, is he's a very insecure character, and he hates talent, and he's going to want to destroy Johan Seong's talent. Now, this is heavily where the theory part comes in. Jin Young says, I know bastards like you very well. People who don't even need any training but become stronger through their sense of inferiority alone. And as we know, self-hatred or self-loathing within Lookism can cause a strange power boost in this monstrous strength, which is shown through parallels between characters like Kit Tae Kim and Samuel Seo. And I think that those dark undercircles under the eyes, that's a hint of that self-hatred. And as we know, Kit Tae Kim has some real dark ones, right? And I think that is a show that Kit Tae Kim's innate strength combined with his inferiority complex has created this anti-mastery or this anti-conviction, and this will help him beat Johan Seong. He is going to feel that sense of inferiority, and through his overwhelming hardware against Johan Seong's overwhelming software, he will beat him. Now, as we go into this, we got to talk about what is the weakness of Johan Seong. What is going to be the inevitable end of Johan Seong? What is going to cause his death? And that is none other than his weakness with endurance. As we know, Gun mentions that he has a weakness, and that is his endurance. With all your fighting prowess, why is it that you weren't able to solve your issue with endurance? Something that's easily dealt with fighters weaker than yourself. Your endurance only increases with every hit you receive, and Johan Seong does not get hit often. And I do not believe that he has improved on his endurance because he hasn't needed to. He hasn't needed to fight, and he's relying on his path because I'm sure he doesn't think anyone is as strong as Gun. But I think Kit Tae Kim is as strong, if not stronger than Gun. And this will be his downfall, is he's underestimating his opponent. He's underestimating the attack power and the attack potency of Kit Tae Kim. And he's also underestimating the durability of Kit Tae Kim, which has some of the craziest durability we've seen in the series. Now, we don't really have to compare these guys very strongly. After all, when it comes to pure durability, Kit Tae takes the cake by far. And we see a stronger version of Allied face Kit Tae Kim, and they all got hits on him, and they all did nothing. And when he fought Sin Yuhan, he hit him, and that was the only time we saw him use Endurance Mastery. So we know he has Endurance Mastery. Gun also has Endurance Mastery, but we see that he gets hurt from Allied. And no matter how you want to put it, Gun is probably one of the strongest characters we've seen in the universe. So we know that, like, okay, he has pretty high durability, and we're not talking about Endurance Mastery. We're not talking about if Gun's mastery is better than Kit Tae's. We're talking about pure durability, not Endurance Mastery. Remember that. Kit Tae has arguably some of the best durability in the series, and that is why Johan Seong is not going to be able to break through like he wants to. He is going to fail. Kite Kim's hardware, his physicality, his strength is going to be something that Johan Siang cannot break through. And I think that Johan Siang, he's going to overwhelm Kite. His software is so superior because it's a path, because he has a path. He is going to try to overwhelm Kite, and he's probably going to have the upper hand in the beginning. But if there's even a glimpse, even a tiny glimpse of Kite to land a single hit, I think that's the end of Johan. I don't think he has the endurance or the durability to withstand a hit from Kite, and he will die. I think Kite will immediately start wailing on him, and unlike Gun Park, who doesn't keep his promises, Kite does kill people, and he's going to kill off Johan's character.